Hello and welcome to the podcast. I hope all of you are having a great day. My name is Direk Khanijou. At the time of this recording, the NCAA March Madness basketball tournament is in full swing. The tournament features 68 of the best college basketball teams in the US. It is played as a single elimination tournament, which means one loss and you are out. The winner of the tournament will be the team with 7 wins in a row. The March Madness tournament reminded me of one of the best books I read last year. The book is about basketball coaching, but if you read between the lines, I think it contains a lot of good life and business lessons. The name of the book is The Carolina Way by Dean Smith. I think Dean Smith belongs right up there with John Wooden, Bobby Knight, and Coach K as some of the best college basketball coaches. So, who was Coach Smith? From 1961 to 1997, he was the basketball coach of the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. During those 36 years, he established several coaching records. Some of his many accomplishments include 27 NCAA appearances, 11 Final Fours, and 2 NCAA championships. He was remarkably consistent, and his teams won more than 75% of their games. He was also the head coach of the US basketball team, which won gold at the 1976 Montreal Olympics. And by the way, if you have seen The Last Dance on Netflix, you will have come across Coach Smith. He was Michael Jordan's coach at North Carolina before he entered the NBA. In Jordan's Hall of Fame speech, he said, "There is no way you guys would have got a chance to see Michael Jordan play without Dean Smith." Coach Smith's basketball philosophy was simple. His mantra was play hard, play smart, and play together. Let's talk about each one. Playing hard means playing with effort, determination, and courage. Coach Smith wanted his players to give maximum effort during practice and in games. He chose to play a style of basketball that was physically exhausting and made it impossible for a player to go all out for 40 minutes. When his players got tired, they would let him know so he could substitute them. He didn't want tired players on the court because they would try to rest on defense. Coach Smith had a very unusual approach to winning. He believed that the best way to win is to make it a byproduct of the process. He didn't care much whether his team won or lost as long as they played well and executed the game plan. He said there were times he was upset after a sloppy win. I think this has parallels with investing. I think it is dangerous to focus on just the end result because you can sometimes be right, but for the wrong reason. I think it is much better to be wrong for the right reason. But ideally, you want to be right for the right reason. And to do that repeatedly, I think you need to be process orientated and not outcome driven. And Coach Smith was very process orientated. He took basketball practice very seriously and he instilled a habit of excellence in his players. For example, when the players arrived in the locker room to dress for practice, each of them received a typed copy of the plan for that day. Coach Smith also strongly believed in mastering the first principles. For instance, he often did 2v2 basketball drills before progressing to 3v3. This is similar to Josh Waitzkin, who mastered chess by playing micro positions. I read somewhere that he would play chess with only 3 pieces on the board. For example, king and pawn versus king. This is a strange way to play chess, but I think he is onto something. We know that chess is very complex since there are more possible iterations of chess than there are atoms in the universe. So I think trying to understand things from first principles is a very good and underrated idea. I think as investors, we should practice our craft in the same way. We should start with the basics, which is accounting. Sometimes I wish I had a formal education in accounting instead of economics. But the good news is that you can learn almost anything these days through books, online courses, and YouTube. All right, let's move on. The next mantra by Coach Smith is to play smart. This means executing the game plan and giving importance to every possession in the game. To encourage his players taking good shots, Coach Smith would sometimes score practice sessions based on shot selection. For example, a layup that didn't go in was worth more in his mind than a tough 3-point shot that went in. Part of playing smart involves taking good shots. Coach Smith incorporated all sorts of little things. Each of them didn't seem to matter, but when put together, it resulted in a fantastic basketball program. Examples include: if a player took a charge, his teammates ran to help him get on his feet. During a timeout, he wanted all his players to sprint to the bench. Throwing an inbound pass with 2 hands, no swearing allowed, and thanking the passer by pointing to him. I think this is extremely smart basketball, and I think more high school and professional sports teams should incorporate these simple tricks. The third mantra is to play together. This means playing unselfishly, trusting your teammates, and doing your part on the team. Coach Smith really liked to see unselfish acts such as diving for loose balls, setting good screens, and drawing charges. He was once again ahead of his time when it came to building team chemistry. He didn't substitute for mistakes. After road games that were played far away from campus, he would arrange charter flights so that his players could be in class the next morning. He never took credit for the wins, but went out of his way to take the blame for the losses. He had this belief that if each individual sacrificed individual goals for team goals, they would be much stronger as a unit and eventually much stronger individually. I think when you get a group of people to be all in, magic can happen. 1 plus 1 can become 11. To sum up, I think the book The North Carolina Way is not just about basketball. It is so much more. Coach Smith said that as a coach, he was part benevolent dictator and part servant to the players. He really cared about his players, and he had a saying: during the season, everything for the team; out of season, everything for the individual. In my opinion, his leadership skills were off the charts. Coaching a basketball team is very challenging because every year you start with a new set of players, whereas in business, you often work with the same set of teammates. I want to briefly say that I have another book on basketball on my shelf. This one is by John Wooden, who was the head coach at UCLA. He won 10 NCAA championships, including 7 in a row. I am really looking forward to reading and learning about him. That is all for today. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Until next time.